And welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome, Dave. There, perfect timing. Welcome back, Miss Avery. And it's been a little while. We got my guy Sidelines, Texas A&M, back in the house. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Doing well. Doing well.
Can't complain.
Yeah, heard that. A little Tuesday night baseball action for us all. Dave, you were calling high school baseball tonight. How was the scene up there?
Great, man. Carl Albert is they're the Titans for a reason, the best in Class 5A. They win in a nail biter, 9-0, a run rule over Guthrie. So, yeah, a couple of back-to-back jacks by two of the best guys around, one being recruited to Ohio State to play linebacker. They do it all at Carl Albert. So, yeah, I got to see a little bit of that awesome baseball team tonight. Always a treat.
Let's say, there you go. I mean, you could be calling a high school baseball game. Always good to call, a powerhouses game. We'll see them do their thing. But, again, sometimes, you want games to be close. And speaking of close games, so we're going to start with you, Dave. Start with your Oklahoma Sooners. I kind of anticipated a close game tonight between the Sooners and Cowboys. Sooners jump on top of the Pokes with a 5 spot in the top of the first inning. Always good to get the Pokes in Bedlam, huh?
Yeah, man, that's actually really surprising. Skip Johnson has not fared well against Holiday in his time in Norman. I didn't like the way this set up for Oklahoma. I wouldn't if OSU was 0-25. They have a number against OU baseball going back to like the 80s. They just don't beat them very often. But I actually think that we're – I hate to say this because I made fun of it for so long, but I think we're seeing the quality of depth in the SEC that you play week in, week out. I think you're seeing Oklahoma, not just the better team going in, highly ranked, better record, whatever, but – they're just a tougher ball club than what I've seen them look like in the last couple of years. And I think the grind of playing LSU, Vandy, Alabama, I mean, having those type of series on top of each other every single week, they're used to it. OSU, I mean, the Big 12 is still really good, but I don't think OSU is just in the same ballpark as what Oklahoma has already seen. Beat some, lost some, but still, the score surprised me tonight, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's Tuesday, so I'm not putting too much stock into Tuesday results.
Exactly.
But you did have some pretty big results over the weekend. Sooners, Vanderbilt. You said you were there on the ground. Oklahoma hit the baseball. Something they really struggled to do. Pitching really hasn't been the issue for you guys. I mean, obviously, you talk about your Friday, Saturday night guys. I mean, pretty damn solid. But the run support, man, it just hadn't really been there. Seemed like the bats kind of finally woke up for the Sooners.
Yeah, it's been kind of frustrating for OU fans watching one of the best in the game with Kyson Witherspoon go every Friday and throw like an ace. You expect to throw 7 shutout innings, 12 strikeouts, whatever. He might allow a run, and every Friday that's been, enough to beat Oklahoma. So finally, it was kind of weird. They flipped the rotation and put Kyson on Saturday, to kind of give him an extra day of rest, and it worked. Cade Crossland goes Friday night. Oklahoma gives him a ton of run support against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt helped them out with walks, errors, didn't really play clean baseball, but that's kind of OU baseball's mantra, is the whole chaos thing, put pressure on the other team. Vandy didn't handle it that well. LSU did, Alabama did. So, yeah, to your point, that allowed some runs to cross, and pitching certainly has not been the issue for OU. The entire staff's ERA is under 4.5, and there's one guy in there with an 81 ERA. That's an elite staff. Earned run average. So if they start getting the bats going, watch out. But I still think that 1 through 9 lacks a little bit of firepower. We'll see. They got a real tough one against the badass Missouri Tigers coming up in Columbia.
Old Dave versus Maggie on the diamond. I love to hear that. Let's talk with our Aggie guests. We'll start with you, Miss Avery. So, I mean, a really boring series there in College Station. Not a lot of fireworks or drama or anything of that nature involved. But, you get your sweep over South Carolina. Aggies had to have it. They got it. Credit to them. How are we feeling after a big sweep? And what was a little bit of an exciting weekend for you guys?
I've been a bit cautious to say I'm optimistic because, I mean, we've still got a long ways to go. We've got, 5 more series, and 3 of those are the top 3 teams in the country. So, I mean, I'm not going to just go and ride out all the way to Omaha, but if no one's going to defend them, I'm going to defend them. I know it's South Carolina and they're bottom of the SEC, but to come out and you have a team at the beginning of the year who can't even put up 8 runs in an entire series, and now they're putting up 17 runs in one game, and they're putting up 2 grand slams at the bottom of the ninth, which I was there for. So anyone who wants to ban me from Olsen Field, please do unban me. I'm feeling good. This is a team that anyone in the conference, anyone in the nation knows if they get hot, they're very hard to beat. So I love that our bats are getting confident, and I love that we're not quitting, and I love that we're just swinging the ball and feeling good and having fun. And I love the golden putter, and I love the green jacket, and I love that the boys are just canceling all the outside noise and just ready to play baseball every weekend. I wish Arkansas was number 1 this weekend. Unfortunately, they're not. I'm not going to say who is, but I am feeling good, and I'm ready to go to Fayetteville and see what happens.
First and most importantly, I have to say I do not care about a number 1 ranking. Okay, and I'm not downplaying what you said, but I need it in June. I don't need it right now. And so if Arkansas, were to win the series versus Texas here in a couple weekends and take over the number 1 spot, I'd be sad about losing the series. Wouldn't care at all about the top spot at all, because we know what they do when they go into the postseason ranked really highly. But anyways, I thought it was really well said. I mean, our tone every week talking about A&M, this is your 3rd straight week now, it's gotten a little bit brighter, a little bit, and well, yours has. I get darker. I get a little more depressed because we could all see it coming. I mean, there's too much talent on that roster. Good baseball would be inevitably played. And again, pitching, like Oklahoma, pitching hasn't been an issue for an A&M. It was all about when does that roster turn around, or sorry, when does that lineup turn around, rather. Sidelines, they're hitting the hell out of the ball right now. How are we feeling, buddy?
Dude, better than I did 2 weeks ago, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, no, the reemergence of this lineup is something that's been due to happen for a while now. I kept expecting it to happen, and then we get run ruled at that tiny ass ballpark in Tennessee, and no hit to boot, and it's like, well, it's not going to happen. And then 12 hours later, what happened in Knoxville happened. But it wasn't, and for the longest time there, it wasn't just the supporting cast, your 4 through 9. It was your Jaslav Yelets, your Caden Kent there for a while. He started the season hot, and then he sort of regressed a little bit there to start SEC play. But it it was really frustrating baseball to watch, and not just in the box, but in the field too. We were making errors everywhere, and it was the routine plays that were just eating us up. We had 5 errors on that Saturday game against Alabama. I think it was like 3 or 4 officially, but there were definitely at least 2 more that probably should have been scored errors. Hate giving Lampkin, hurting Lampkin's hits per 9. But we've. I don't know if the run rule is what finally kicked us into gear, being like, hey, you can't just roll your helmet out there. The preseason number 1 ranking, to your point, Ghost, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
You've got to go out there and earn it every week, and we're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, and here you go, Barstool. I apologize for the stray that you caught on this channel last night, my friend. But purple Aggie versus maroon Aggie. It feels good for you guys. I'm sure I mean, I don't remember the last time that you lost, to be honest. I guess Tennessee and Knoxville on last Friday.
Yes.
And so yeah, I mean, y'all were dead. Like, it felt like y'all were dead to rights. You got no hit, no life, no momentum. It's not like all these games were even particularly close. And then you go score 26 runs in one day against the Vols, and everything just starts to fall in line. You had to have the sweep versus South Carolina. Now, they're not – you have to have it versus Missouri too. the four of us, and we could all go pick a friend. We might could get out there and hang 8-on-9, with Missouri baseball. And so we know that's coming, but this was one, that you really, really had to have. You put yourself in a really good spot, in a really good spot to backdoor into the NCAA tournament. And so it sucks. I hate it. But we all figured that by the time Texas and A&M tangled up, that you guys would be playing much better baseball. So let me say this. You guys throw a like on the video if you're a Schmeeb or a Posse or any of you goobers, LSU, Texas State. Appreciate all you guys representing your fan bases in here. Throw a quick like on the video if you're watching on Twitter. The link is in the bio. It'll take you to the YouTube channel. Throw a like, subscribe to the channel. Avery's been on 3 weeks in a row. Dave always on. Sidelines is a frequenter of the channel as well. So they're always doing good work, and y'all should show them love. All right, one more really baseball question that I just got to know. We're going to talk just baseball park foods. All right, Dave, we're going to go with you because I'm really feeling like you're going to deliver the most here. Give me a couple of your go-to baseball park foods. And I know you've ventured around. You've been in a lot of parks. Is there any, specialty item that maybe has stood out to you over time?
The cinnamon nuts at Frisco last week, really good. The Big 12 tournament in Arlington last year, they had, I don't know if you guys remember, Texas, you'll remember, A&M won't, but they had each individual team like a different hot dog for each team, right? And all of them were awesome except Oklahoma. It was the most disgusting array of stuff on top of a wiener you could ever imagine. So I didn't try that, but K-State's was like chopped barbecue with barbecue sauce, coleslaw on top of an awesome hot dog. That's one of the best things I've ever had in my entire life. That is by far the best ballpark food I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
The coleslaw hot dog?
Oh, chef's kiss.
Not a big coleslaw guy. I can't do it. You can have mine. I'm on the hunt for that photo of y'all's hot dog because I have it saved on my phone. I've used it as content a few times. It was like a piece of, square plastic, pre-sliced cheese on a hot dog. And if I remember right, there were some onions on top of it or something.
Yeah, that had to be the Big 12's way of giving Oklahoma the middle finger for, exiting stage left and going to the SEC. Oklahoma responded by, winning the regular season last year in the Big 12, which I'm sure they love. But yeah, that was a nasty hot dog, nasty food. The cinnamon nuts, very good when they were hot, smelled up the ballpark. Funnel cakes, that's always a favorite. You can find those. But there's something different about a hot dog at the ballpark. It tastes better. I've never been able to duplicate it. I've tried. But there's just something better about mustard on a hot dog watching baseball that just tastes better. So I'd probably take one of those too.
I mean, this right here, I forgot about this, but a pimento cheese milkshake, that's tough, man. We're really reaching there.
More power to whoever has the stomach for that.
I don't want to know the people that have a stomach for that. That's not people I want to be involved. I'm big on, if you're gonna spice up some nuts with some cinnamon, I try to find the best way to say that without being too wild. I'm all about it. That's a good option. Avery, I want to hear from you next. What do you got? Best ballpark foods? Maybe one that stood out to you over time.
I can't lie. The only ballpark I've ever watched a baseball game at is Olsen Field, and every time I go, I get a Ben's pretzel. And personal confession, my first baseball game this year was this past Saturday, and we were tied 2-2, and I said, let me go get a pretzel to change the mojo, and the next thing I know, we're down 12-2. So I don't know, maybe it's my fault. I will take responsibility. I had a full apology note written just in case we had lost because I didn't know if I had brought all the bad juju from Dallas, but I will stand by it. If I go back to Olsen Field again, I will be getting a Ben's pretzel, and that is the only ballpark food I will live and breathe by. So that is what I'm going to stand on today.
A pretzel. I mean, I can get behind it, I guess. I got to have some cheese or some sauce, though, to be honest. Maybe
mustard. I'll do mustard.
I'm going to combine y'all's two answers. We're going cinnamon pretzel. Hard to beat a cinnamon pretzel.
That'll
undefeated.
play.
That always.
Oh, absolutely.
But also mustard is for the devil. I'm just letting you know mustard is a no-go. Can't do it. Yeah, I figured. I'm a child. I'm a catch-up guy. Sidelines. Ballpark Foods. Let me hear your thoughts, brother.
Man, I am as vanilla as it comes when it comes to ballpark food. Just give me a hot dog and I'm straight. Big Rangers guy though, so the boomstick up at Globe Life, definitely a staple of my youth.
Yep.
But hot dog, and it's always ketchup, mustard, and relish. I
All
need
right.
all
I
three.
mean, I can respect the condiment man. I really can. I'm big on relish too. Relish is the good stuff. I'm gonna be honest. I've never even heard of Ben's Pretzels. So you and Nash, y'all are both here singing their praises. Next time, or if I ever do see one, let me give it a shot. But
It's a bucket
hopefully
list
they're
item.
in other venues outside of Olson Field because that's going to be a while, to be honest. So I'm a nacho guy. I'm simple, throwing jalapenos. We're getting salsa. We're gonna do the works. Some of these MLB ballparks, they're throwing black beans on it and everything else, and I'm cool with all of it. But I like y'all's answers a little better. I'm pretty boring. Again, I eat like a child. Like there's no getting around that. All right, what are y'all's? Nash, what's your go-to baseball ballpark food? Nachos, my man, chime in right there. Lounge, I got to hear yours, man. I hope it's really a different option other than really bland and boring macaroni. I think you got more in the bag than that. But y'all drop your favorite ballpark foods. We'll judge them 1 through 10. Okay, shit. He brought the heat.
Yeah, he busted it out right there.
He brought the heat immediately. Lounge, I apologize. I slandered your macaroni live in front of about 300 people, and I apologize. You did not deserve that. Memphis Redbirds, pulled pork, nachos, queso, jalapenos, bacon. Jesus Christ, I love this guy. Shmeeb, we've mentioned you. Go like the video or shut up. Though you can't talk anymore. We've talked about you. Go like the video. Tell us your favorite ballpark food. Also, I love you. I told Shmeeb the other day, and I told Dave as well. I'll tell y'all, but I guess I told Avery too. Sidelines, me and you, we're talking, buddy. Show up to my son's 5-on-5 or 6-on-6 flag football game the other day, and we had a late register for our team. And Dad walks up with the kid. He is shaking, shakes my hand. He's like, "Hey, this is Lincoln. He wasn't at practice the other day." I was like, "Okay, it's okay, no worries." And I'm like, "Wait a second. You're GJ Kinney. You coach the Texas State Bobcats." He's like, "So
No
I got a pretty good OC on the 6-on-6 flag football team." But Shmeeb didn't care at all. I told him, and he was like, "I don't care. I don't even pay attention to Texas State football." It's really, really odd of him, but it is what it is. I appreciate you being here, Shmeeb. Thanks a lot. Yeah, unfortunately, Emily is not in here. That's always fun when she comes in here and bodies you every single time. It's fun to watch that on the timeline. But all right, let's keep it going, guys. Thank y'all for going with me on the ballpark foods. Just curious, and I'm really, really hungry right now. So I wrote it in the notes. We had to talk about it. Dave, floor is yours. Hate to say it, Oklahoma, a big couple of additions in the portal. Today, especially, it's been a really good week or plus, I think, for Oklahoma football. You can sense a little bit of momentum. Just kind of curious on your overall thoughts on Brent Venables and the Sooners during spring and these recent portal ads.
Yeah, Ghost was in Norman on the field for the whatever that was, Crimson Combine Saturday. A bunch of kids are in 40s, and everybody thought it was very lame, and there wasn't a lot of positive momentum. People got to see John Mateer throw the ball against air. Wide receivers caught it and ran back without being injured for the season, so that was good. But still, Nash, OU football still ass. You bring up Brent Venables. What's weird about all this, Brent Venables really isn't doing anything. He's not really involved in what's going on positive momentum-wise. Cord, I call it like it is with OU. I don't care what sport it is. I have to give credit where it's due. This, to me, is the administration since the offseason started saying, you know what, we get it, we see it, we understand that this isn't the standard of OU football, and everything they've done subsequently has been pretty good. The Jim Nagy hire to take a lot of the administrative duties off Brent Venables. Scouting personnel, he's awesome at that. Now Brent can just be a head coach. Is that good news? I don't know. We're going to find out. But it led to this. Jaden Ott, one of the best running backs in college football, 2,400 yards at Cal. He can do it all out of the backfield. He's very fast, explosive. He's a legit SEC running back to pair with Xavier Robinson, who's already on campus. that's a good 1-2 punch. They went out and got the best OC available with Ben Arbuckle from Washington State, the best quarterback available out of the portal in John Mateer. So I can't look at Oklahoma and say they're standing pat and they're not doing anything about what just transpired. They see it, they're trying to fix it. And yeah, the vibes are high. It's weird to go 6-7 and lose to a service academy in a bowl game, and yet you're the talk of college football for good things happening to your program right now. That's where we're at. I guess if you can adapt as a program and spend lots of money, it can create positive momentum. And Oklahoma certainly has that right now, kind of out of the blue, to be honest.
And I mean, but part of me surprised, a very small part of me, but most of me was not. I mean, Oklahoma has great pride and tradition of really dang good football. And so Brent Venables has been around winning programs for his entire tenure as a coach, at least in my lifetime. He's been around a lot of winners, and it's not just, necessarily on the football field, but how things operate behind the scenes, and so it definitely, and I don't know if you remember me saying this, and I'm not saying that I believe Brent is, immediately turned the corner. This made me laugh. This is hilarious. I love this show so much. Thank y'all. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Posse. This was good stuff. That's the type of comments we need, but I'm not saying I believe Venables has turned a corner necessarily. I'm not going to say, that he can't, because I do like what they've been doing. I really do like what they've been doing. I hate saying it, but I mean, dude, like, it felt dead. It really did. It felt dead. It felt like a program that, and I hate to say this because people have done this to us, but like some coaches would stay away from it. You didn't know if he might get the necessary help that he needs, but I've said that if the longer he is there, the better I think that he does. And that these first few years are the biggest part for him, because he's going to have to build the roster the way that he wants it. Prove that, he has the backing, and that OU is going to play the NIL game. And quite clearly right now, it feels like they're as committed, if not more than ever, as far as NIL goes, because they're you don't pull kids like they're pulling without spending some money in NIL, and that's not a knock. I wish my team were doing the same thing, and they are. We added a really good receiver yesterday, and I'm excited about what he's going to look like in our offense. So it was fun. That was funny, Posse. You win. Tell Nash to shut up, okay? Love you, Nash. But, I mean, 1 through 10, Dave, how much better do you feel about Oklahoma right now than you did, let's say, 6 weeks ago, as far as football in 2025?
Man, 1 through 10. That's look, 6 weeks ago, you just said it. There was not a lot of positives to talk about with Oklahoma. They've got arguably the toughest schedule in all of college football next season. They lost what they thought was going to be their next big time quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Jackson Arnold was supposed to kind of be the next, and that didn't work. And John Mateer has played really good ball, but he's played it out west and kind of a glorified Mountain West schedule. So, yeah, 1 to 10. Look, I got to put it at like an 8. You get Michael Fasusi, that is being called a generational tackle, to go with Ryan Foji. They've got Everett back, their center on the left side, Logan Howland, Heath Ozeda, Fabechi Nwini, Eddie Pierre-Louis. Somebody asked about a patchwork O-line. The names I just listed, that's a lot of talent, at least on paper. So with Bill Bedenbaugh's track record of pumping guys up in the league as first-round picks and having a pretty good line, if they don't all get hurt this year, with mysterious injuries, they've got a chance, man. And look, John Mateer can ball. I just watched the guy say, yeah, he's good. There's a reason there's hype on this guy. And Oklahoma is going to sneak around and become a good football team, because the defense, that front seven is going to be nasty. They've got athletes across the board. If they can kind of get their back end figured out, defensive backs figured out, they're going to be a good football team. And I don't think anybody saw that coming.
All right, Dave, we got a question for you from Mr. Manning right here. Michael Fasusi, the aforementioned offensive tackle for Oklahoma. How's he looking as far as starting in 2025?
That's kind of the caveat here. I referenced Bill Bedenbaugh. He doesn't really have a track record of starting freshmen. And you hear it like all through camp, and you talk to dudes that are like, yeah, this guy's the best I've ever seen, and he's Superman. And game one, he's not out there, and nobody can kind of figure that one out. So if Bill didn't really learn last year to, maybe talent over experience is where they need to go to have success, I don't know how you're going to learn it. So I have to say yes. Look, I don't care that he is a freshman. I don't think the fan base cares he's a freshman. You play your best players. So I think the pressure and the noise around what didn't happen on the offensive line last year is enough. I think the hype with Vasusi is enough, and I think what he's showing in practice will be enough. So yeah, I think the chances are excellent he starts game 1 for Oklahoma.
I fully agree with you. I'd be absolutely shocked if he does not find his way into a starting role there. Too good of a talent, a guy that you want to get game reps, because by year 3, you'll be talking about him as a top 15 or 20 pick in the league. He's damn good. Hate that he chose your school, but he's going to be a player we got to worry about for the next couple of years. Moving on in the college football world, sidelines, we're going to you. We're talking Nico Iamaleava, Nico's dad, NIL. I just want your thoughts on the entire Nico situation. I mean, Tulane pulled out of the Nico race today. That's where we're at. That's where we're currently at right now. We need $4 more million every 5 months. I mean, I'm not trying to knock him, man, but it is what it is. What do you think?
This is the nightmare case of what everybody was worried about whenever NIL was instituted, right?
Right.
Because I think anybody with a brain could figure out that this was always going to turn into pay for play, because the NCAA has no ability to either an inability or an unwillingness to enforce rules. And there's all these workarounds. It's not tampering if the agent talks to the coach, whatever. But it's just, it is. I'm glad that the players are getting compensated for the value that they add to their respective football programs, and I think that is something that had to happen, because these billion-dollar organizations. These billion-dollar organizations were making money hand over fist, and the players were getting room and board. And I think that had to change, but this is the other extreme, where you have holdouts and bailing right before spring ball. It's just an unfortunate situation for everyone involved, because one, Pate kind of touched on this. He thinks, Tennessee did what they had to do. You can't let something like that happen and it just, go unpunished, for lack of a better term. But they don't have a quarterback, and they might be tampering with the South Alabama kid, but whoever they have, he's not going to be Nico. I'm a leaving. And for Nico, he's tarnished his reputation. He's good enough to where schools like, Oregon or Ohio State, these big name programs that are desperate to fill their quarterback room, he'll be fine. He'll find a spot. I have no doubt. But what are they going to ask him at the draft, right? It's like, I don't know, man. I just don't know. I think, and I can't pin this all on Nico, right? His dad and his agent also were very big influences in his decision. But ultimately,
that was a great question, or a good point for a question I was going to ask you guys. Like, do you feel bad for Nico at all? Because that there's a pretty solid chance there's a lot more than, just his thoughts going on and through his ears. There's dad's involved. I'm not going to allege and say other people are involved, but don't know that they're not involved. And you see cases like this pop up. And again, like you just said, it's a good point. This is what it is. And everybody kind of expected this eventually to blow up to this category or to this degree. And it's gotten out of control. Yeah, there's got to be some type of regulation. Avery, you're the queen of college football. You are the college football commissioner. What would you do about NIL? First thing you would change, like, give me one modification to the current NIL format we have that you would change.
I mean, it's so hard to revert back. I mean, you've already kind of opened Pandora's box at this point where it is a pay to play. I don't know how you revert back from that. It would have had to been right at the start of allowing NIL to be what it is today. There's just got to be some regulation on contracts for him to be able to renegotiate every year. Because I mean, he was gonna if Nico had gotten what he wanted this year, you would have seen the same exact thing next year where he probably would have upped his price. So there's got to be some renegotiation on that front, because if you don't stop it at the start, then it's just going to keep growing. It's a snowball that you can't stop once it starts going downhill. So I can't tell you right now that I have an exact pinpoint Josh Pate rule that I want to employ right now, but I think we've kind of seen it grow bigger than it might be able to be stopped. But I think at the point that we are at right now, Tennessee doing what they did, stepping in where the NCAA didn't, is kind of what it has to be, because I don't think there's a regulation that you can set in place that's going to stop what's already started. So I'm glad to see them standing up, because it's not like Tennessee didn't have the money. They certainly have the money to pay Nico what he asked for, but you got to put a stop to where you say this is enough. You're not a good enough quarterback for us to be giving you this kind of money for a performance. Like, for him to even be doing that before the playoffs, where he threw for under 50% completion, he got blown out by Ohio State. Like, you can't let that slide. So I didn't answer your question, but I think at this point, it's just going to have to be teams willing to stand up for regulating what the players have kind of taken advantage of. Because I mean, if I was them, I would too. There's nothing stopping them. So,
I mean, you didn't directly answer the question, but you gave a great answer. A lot of good points in there. I do think I agree more with you than I do sidelines, as far as I think Tennessee can find very comparable quarterback play for a much smaller price tag. I think I've said that 50 times in the last 9 or 10 days, however long this has been going on. Yeah, they'll tamper. They'll have more money, and I'm not saying, oh, Tennessee's a dirty program. Almost everyone is tampering. Mm-hmm. Texas, Oklahoma, A&M, everybody tampers. Okay, it's been going on, and if you're not tampering, then you're probably a little bit behind, because there's going to be somebody out there when you're these schools that are going to try and tamper with your players. So, it is what it is. Nico has taken advantage, of Tennessee, has taken advantage of NIL. And it's absolutely cool for Tennessee to just shut it down. I mean, you have to say no at some point. You have to just stand up. Schools are going to have to be the backbone, because we damn sure know that the NCAA has no backbone whatsoever. Dave, Nico, Tennessee, what you thinking, brother?
Oh, it's terrible. I hate to see it for the sport of college football. I think it flies in the face of why we liked it in the first place, why we loved it in the first place. And you start talking about possible fixes, negotiations, contracts, bargaining agreements, then it becomes pro, and that's why we loved it, because it's not pro football, and that gets to another area. But there has to be regulation, right? You can't keep seeing this. July 1st might offer some. I think the lawsuits on the backside of that will make up for it. But this comes down to Nico. He's just the first. This was always going to happen. He's just the first one that actually did it. I'll go ahead and say it. I think his dad's a fucking idiot, and talked him into doing this, and is still trying to talk him into doing this. He wasn't worth what he asked for. Tennessee recognized that and said, there's the door. You can't tell your program that it's not about one guy. It's bigger than that. And then put up with that kind of crap. You hear rumors of Nico wanting to sit out against Ohio State, and that's why he struggled in that game, and the teammates knew about it. That flies in the face of everything college football stands for. And so it's a sad day to me, but it's a day that always was coming when this happened. How do you fix it? I don't know. I was asked on a different show last night, and I straight up told the dude, I have no idea, man. You can't stuff this genie back in the bottle. So yeah, the NCAA, it's revisionist to say they had a chance back when to do stipends, this and that. They didn't, and we're here. So, those in charge that have sat around and thought about how to change the best game that we've ever known to a point where it's unrecognizable can keep sitting around talking and figure out how to fix this, because that's what they got to do.
I love every bit of it. Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback. Sidelines, you nailed that. But what you already have committed so much to Nico. You've already put so many eggs in that basket. You've already built that offense around him. You've already let offensive line recruiting and wide receiver recruiting suffer a little bit because, I think that they think he's that good to where they can overcome some of it. And so they're still putting emphasis on the defensive side of the ball with NIL. Somebody had to stand up, and Tennessee did stand up. I think it's super cool. I said I'd be proud to be a Vol. I think Dave nailed all of that. It's not the game we grew up with. There's got to be some type of limitations on number of transfers. In my opinion, that's the first thing I would do is we're slapping a firm one-time transfer rule on there. Okay. Now it can get real dicey real quick because there's going to be appeals when coaches leave and coaches get fired and this and that. And I understand that. And so I'm glad I'm not in charge of making these decisions, but abolishing the NCAA and having a college football playoff commissioner and having a group of guys that actually are making decisions instead of just being stagnant and doing nothing. Because how long has NIL been uttered in the college football world? Like what, 4 years now? 4 years for sure. And there's just been no regulations of it whatsoever. There's no standard. It is the wild, wild west. And I tried very hard to kind of refute that. I thought, that it wouldn't be this crazy immediately, but these guys are taking advantage, of these schools to the maximum, and it's pretty crazy. But I love that point right there. What are your expectations? Anybody take this one? I'm happy to hear from all of you, but what are your expectations from Nico? Do you think there's a chance he reaches the upside that so many people thought he could reach coming out of high school? Do you think this is kind of the end, even though he's obviously going to get another opportunity to play football? It doesn't look like it's going to be, at the same level. I don't know if Ohio State or Oregon would take him. I know Ohio State has questions about their quarterback room, and yeah, so does Oregon. But to me, that adds another big question mark because you're going to have to do this, like you said earlier, Avery, you're going to have to do this NIL dance over and over and over and over, just like Tennessee just saw, So what are y'all's sides? Nico, is there still hope for him as a player, or is there just there's too much going on?
I think you sort of, and we saw this with a lot of members of our 21 recruiting class. There's a little bit of forgiveness, there's a little bit of leniency whenever, you fail at one spot, so to speak. And obviously Nico didn't leave because he was forced out by better talent underneath him. I think he can still be very good, and I think the 5-star high school rating, though it doesn't mean near as much as the tape does, but I do think there will be a school, probably Power 5 caliber, that is willing to take a chance on him. And I think he can absolutely live up to, maybe not live up to the original expectations that he got out of high school, but I think he can play his way into a second-day pick in the what year is he draft eligible? Is it going to be 26?
One more season and he becomes draft eligible.
So,
yeah. He
kind of has to light it up this year. And that's going to be very difficult when you have a summer going into in one system. But he obviously, his camp at least, felt comfortable enough to walk away from Tennessee. So they think of him very highly. And I think we're just going to see if that gamble pays off or not. I keep saying this in terms of like can and can't. I don't think he will, but I do think there's a sizable possibility that he does.
I think that's fair. Avery, what do you think?
I don't know if this is an exactly comparable situation, but even if he were to play to his 5-star capability, I think it was 2016, A&M had Kyle Allen and Kyler Murray in our locker room, and I think they were arguably both 5-star quarterbacks. And when there are locker room issues and character issues and trust issues, and to bring Nico into a situation like that. I mean, he can play to a 5-star caliber if his receivers, if his O-line, if his own coaching staff doesn't have faith in him. Like, it's just not going to work out. Like, he can be a Heisman worthy candidate, and there's so much more than individual talent at this point, especially when money is in play. So, I mean, I'm rooting for the kid. I don't want to wish failure upon anyone, but I think at this point, it's the point of no return. I think he's just dug himself too deep a hole to fully succeed anywhere he goes. And even if he does, to be in an NFL locker room, that's a whole different story. And I don't know if management wants to deal with that on top of his dad, on top of all the outside advice he's getting. So I'm kind of already one foot out the door on him. I'm sure plenty of other people are too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm fully all the way out. You go back, you watch Nico film. I watched a lot of Nico last year. He lit it up in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season against absolute bum opponents. Josh Heupel's system is very, very good at being a one-read system. Nico knew where to go with the football the first 3 or 4 weeks. As soon as the first read muddied up, Heupel's not known for really developing quarterbacks as far as progressions go. Yes, he was successful with Hendon Hooker, and Joe Milton looked good at times, but these are guys that on that read, I mean, Heupel, give him credit. He's good, okay, but the SEC has time to figure these things out. They start to pick up on tendencies year after year after year, and I'm questioning Heupel's system a little bit too, and mostly it's because of the lack of development of Nico in that year. That lack of ability to look past the first read, that's big for me because he's a redshirt freshman. He's already been on campus for a year plus, and that's where I have major question marks about Tennessee. And yeah, they don't have a quarterback. So what the hell do they do now? Because they're going to struggle a little bit on the offensive line, and I don't love the wide receiver room. What about you, Dave? Nico Hope or no?
That's a loaded question. I think all the ratings out of high school, all the hype, they were warranted. I mean, he can play football. He can play the quarterback spot. It didn't really translate to elite quarterback play at Tennessee for, I'm sure, a lot of reasons that are both in the locker room and with his camp. Uh, but like Avery was saying, you walk into a locker room. I work with Kelly Gregg, who was an ex-Baltimore Raven, NFL great, and we talked about this. He's like, the guys in an NFL locker room finding this out, they're not going to make it easy on the guy. They're not going to want to play hard for the guy. A college locker room's not that much different. You get a bunch of guys that are making, I don't know, $100,000 a piece. They've all been sweating and bleeding next to each other for years. In walks this kid, and you're supposed to sacrifice, what you do on the field for him. That sounds good in theory, and coaches can talk it up, but it doesn't always translate. So I think he's at a massive disadvantage. I think there's always going to be trust issues between he and his staff, between he and players. That being said, that 5-star rating and the hope, the promise of elite, quarterback play will always travel. So I'm sure somebody will take the guy. It's a bad situation for everyone involved. I hate it for Josh Heupel. I hate it for Tennessee fans. They didn't ask for this. They thought he was going to be their next, their next coming, their next Peyton Manning. Didn't work out, and I wish him the best. I don't know where they go from here. Sawyer Robinson at Baylor might be one to watch. Nico at Ohio State. It just feels like an Ohio State quarterback to me for some reason. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I should have said they wouldn't take him because I know that Julian saying, I watched every snap of the Ohio State spring game, and he had moments, but I don't think that staff necessarily feels super comfortable going into the season with a guy with no experience at this level yet, especially considering, the schedule's a lot more difficult than it was a couple of years ago in the Big Ten when you add Josh. He knows me well. But, I'm out. I'm all the way out. I wouldn't want him. To me, I could see Ohio State, but I just have this feeling. It just feels like we'll see him on some wild and crazy Big 12 late night games. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I could see some shootouts because as we know, there's not a ton of defense in that conference. Okay, there's a couple of coaches that know ball, but overall, we see a lot of points in that conference. Still saw a lot of points in that conference last year, and just a feeling. Haven't heard anything on the matter, and I've tried to pay as little attention to it as I can because I do not care. I think he's and his camp are horrible for the game. And so, again, there is a portion of me that does feel bad for the kid because I don't know how much he's just being, he's being puppeteered and how much he's, leading the charge as far as asking for all this and making demands and causing, the ruckus that he has over the last week. One more question, guys, and this is going to be a question that you be prepared because it could very well end up on the timeline tomorrow, depending on answers. Give me your best quarterback heading into the 2025 season amongst SEC football teams.
I like Nuss. I got to say it. I think Nussmeier's going to be really good and got a lot of talent around him.
Yeah, I thought Nuss was going to be the first quarterback off the board in this draft going into last season. Obviously, things didn't pan out for him. He threw 3 interceptions in Kyle Field, which, but no, unfortunately, they get A&M in Baton Rouge. I also really like Lenoris Sellers, but I do think Nuss is a far more he's a better thrower of the ball. Yeah, I think I'd have to go with Nussmeier.
I mean, he had a great first half against the Aggies, but my God, that second half was one to forget. He was seeing ghosts, no puns intended. He really struggled to see the football field, and it was a big part of why A&M had the second half that they did. Hot take central from Mr. Hot Take himself, Joseph Monero, checking in. Nussmeier, not a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. Joseph, if you say that, then that means you have to drop your top 3. We have to know who you're putting your money on here, so that Sidelines or Avery can, or Sidelines or Dave can come back and bark at you a little bit if it works out. Which neither one of them are LSU guys, so I'm sure that they'd be okay if it didn't. But drop your top 3, or give me your top 3, or if you only want to do one, that's fine. Drop in the comments top SEC quarterback entering the 2025 season. Avery, what are you thinking?
I'm not that hot on Nuss. I think these may be my own personal demons talking, but I think Sellers is a huge threat. I mean, he's young and he can beat you on the ground and in the air, and he's only going to improve. I would be scared to play against him. I mean, we came in hot thinking that we were going to cruise by in that game, and he just torched us. So until he proves me wrong, I got Lenoris Sellers at the top of the SEC. So we will see.
I gotta say something, Ghost. The Monero guy or whatever. You can't put Manning in here yet. He might be awesome, but we have to see it through a season, through more than a couple games of filling in for somebody who's injured. So yeah, I have to disagree with that. I do like Sellers as well. Lagway is more based on potential. I think he can be awesome. I think he can be the best quarterback in the SEC. Sellers, same thing. I mean, the dude has talent for days. Nussmeier at this point is just a little bit more polished of a passer and understands offensive systems. But yeah, I can't put Manning in the top 3 yet, though he very well might be by the end of the season.
The only reason that obviously Dave wasn't impressed, but with Arch Manning leading Texas to a win over the mighty and powerful Mississippi State Bulldogs last year in Quinn Ewers' absence, I get it, Dave. If he's got to show you more than one, SEC conference win, that's fair. But he balled in that one. It would be hard to put Arch in the top 3 right now because again, you need to see it. And the competition is pretty damn stout. I love Lenoris Sellers. He's probably my favorite non-Arch Manning SEC quarterback. Questions about Nussmeier, I really do, though. I need to see him in these pressure moments because he's got elite skill. He can make every single throw in the book. He has a billion options to throw to a wide receiver. But it just feels like something has gone funky with Brian Kelly's seasons every year since Jaden Daniels won the Heisman. Talking about the next year, I think they went 8-4 with Jaden Daniels, which is insane to me, considering what that guy is doing at the next level. But if I had to pick one, I'm probably going with Lenoris Sellers. Now, with the caveat of if he can stay healthy, okay, because they're going to use him on the ground. He's going to get his legs chopped out from under him a lot because he's a really big body, and he's looking to pick up a lot of yards. He just doesn't go down super easy, and so maybe that's part of his growth, his development, learning how to get down. But Ingrid, this is why you're going to get in trouble. Okay. I didn't say any Aggie. I didn't say anything about A&M. I'm talking about a South Carolina Gamecock. So call me a cock before you call me an Aggie, please. But yeah, I like the Lenoris a lot, and I also think DJ Lagway is going to be really dang good. Not to say that Nuss won't be the best, but I have question marks. You're talking about beating Lane Kiffin posse. Okay, I'm letting you have this one.
That game
All
was
right,
also at home. I know I picked Nuss, but the Ole Miss game was at home. So it's like, you've got the crowd on your side there.
Yeah. No, I'm not knocking you posse. I think Nuss is going to be great, but we'll see what happens. Jackson Arnold, Dave, you saw the comments about Jackson Arnold facing adversity at Oklahoma. He said he went 3-0, and then he got benched because of one bad half of football there against the Auburn Tigers at Jordan-Hare Stadium. I don't know if you saw that quote, Dave, but
I did, yeah.
What are your thoughts there? Because that's a pretty wild quote to me.
Yeah, it was actually the first half against Tennessee in Norman, and it was not a bad half of football. It was a catastrophic half of football to where Oklahoma turned Tennessee over twice, once on the Tennessee 5-yard line, and Jackson Arnold gave it right back to Tennessee on the next snap. Did it again after Oklahoma picked off Nico on their own 20-yard line. The next snap, Jackson Arnold turns it back over. So, look, there was some truth in what he said. A lot of us in the Oklahoma media talked about, are they handling this correctly or not? Probably not. Should you bench the guy fully, permanently going into Auburn the next game, or just a half to reset and say, take a breath, you had a bad half, watch Michael Hawkins for one half and then come back out and be our starter? I don't think it was handled correctly, and I'll always stand by that. And I think Jackson Arnold has enormous upside, to be honest with you. I've seen the guy make every throw a quarterback can make. He wasn't the Gatorade National Player of the Year out of high school for nothing. He's got talent. Just didn't work in Norman for a variety of reasons, coaching right at the top of the list. So, yeah, I agree with what he said. I do think he's downplaying the bad half just a little bit. The staff had no choice but to make some kind of change, and then they kind of messed up how and when that change happened. So a little bit of truth to it, and I can see him having a bounce-back year in Hugh Freeze's offense. I really can. If he comes into Norman and beats Oklahoma, Brent Venables probably won't make it till the following Monday.
I do not want to throw shade on any particular Oklahoma player, but he's going to have a lot better options at wide receiver than he had at Oklahoma, due to injuries and other reasons. He's got really damn good group of wide receivers. Offensive line at Auburn is still a major question mark, but I could see it, man. I mean, Hugh Freeze is, Peyton Thorne was lost out there, and he even at times had Thorne in certain, late November games looking like a pretty damn good player. And so I'm sorry, guys, couldn't resist that. That had to be done. Here we go, sidelines. Posse wants to know about Nuss. He was down 17 in Columbia against South Carolina, and there was some interesting stuff with officiating in that game, but none of it really happened when Nuss was on the field. So I got to give him credit. He makes a good point. Nuss was really dang good in that game. I mean, he lit it up in that second half and did bring him back.
He did throw the no, that was never mind.
There was a pick six in the second half. Yeah.
He was definitely the benefactor of some calls, but you still have to score more points than the other team to win. I'm a winner in either case because I said that Nuss was going to be the best quarterback in the SEC this year. No, he definitely has guts, and he's, he doesn't shut down when he gets down big in road environments, except in Kyle Field. But
I love it. That was a great game. One of my favorite games of the entire season. Fantastic game. And at the end of the day, South Carolina had a field goal opportunity to win the game, and it didn't work out, so you got to give LSU credit. I'm going to be honest, Posse, y'all are my favorite, non-Texas SEC school, but I'm just not a Brian Kelly guy, so it's going to be hard. Until he gives me reason to say good things, I'm not going to have any issue throwing a slight shade, at LSU's way for sure. Last question, guys. I promise to get y'all out of here. Can't say your school, but one school you think takes a step up on the SEC football field this season. Dave, you first, bub.
I can't go with the team I cover, Oklahoma.
No, absolutely not.
One
Because it's
team's gonna
obvious
step up.
I think it's obvious that both of your teams take a step up. I really do, and so we're not going to do that whole dance. So
That's a good question. Billy Napier was written off for dead in the Florida Gators numerous times, and kind of it's been a miraculous kind of comeback to get to here. I really like what Lagway can do if he lives up to kind of the hype. He's got the talent to do so. And I think Florida has a pretty decent season in the SEC, better than the experts expect. So that's my pick. I think Florida rises up more than people think.
I like that one. I'm kind of on that wagon as well. Avery, who do you have?
It's going to sound weird, but I think from a home-based standpoint, Alabama has to step up. I think the legacy that Nick Saban created for DeBoer to come in and go 9-3, like those fans, as great. A&M would take that any year, but for them that's just not enough. So I think they're developed a little more. Ryan Williams is not 17 anymore; he's 18. So I think they are going to have to step it up. I mean, it's not going to be a crazy jump because they're known for having winning seasons, but I would like to see them, but I think they're going to need to take that jump back to where they're used to being to keep in contention and keep the fans happy.
Everyone take it to the Twitter timeline. Avery Barham shows up wearing crimson and also mentions Alabama as her team that she expects and probably wants to. I'm sorry. I'll leave that alone. I mean, I get it. It's Alabama. Kalen DeBoer's won everywhere he's gone. Still sounds like there could be issues at quarterback. I think Ryan Grubb said recently that Ty Simpson would be the starter if they played this week. But I'm not knocking Ty Simpson. I'm just saying Alabama's had a lot better talent there, and I don't know if he's a step up actually at all from Jalen Milroe, to be honest with you, because he doesn't possess the threat with his legs, and he doesn't throw near the deep ball that Jalen Milroe threw. And Kalen DeBoer, he wants the pocket passer. It's all about reads. He wants a guy, Michael Penix, that can stand in there and make all those throws on the passing tree. And so I'm skeptical. I really am, but wouldn't be shocked at all because, again, Kalen DeBoer has won everywhere that he goes. That's what he does. He wins. And unfortunately, he's 2-0 over Sark. So, sidelines, anybody you expect to take a little bit of a leap that's not your fighting Texas Aggies?
Yeah. The first thought was Florida, but Dave said that, so I'm not gonna steal that from him. I think I'm gonna roll with Auburn. Jackson Arnold still has that big question mark hanging over his head, but to your point, he will have a really good wide receiver core, including Cam Coleman, which pains me to say. But I think the system there, as much as I hate Hugh Freeze, I think he's a really good coach. I think he's really good at installing systems, and I think Jackson Arnold, if there's a place for him to succeed as a first-year head coach, or as a first-year quarterback in a new system, I think Auburn is one of those places. And they were coming off some momentum there late in the season, thanks to their win over us in particular. So I do think Auburn can take a pretty significant step forward. Might not be a 10-win season, but better than 6-6, 5-7.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They had a good defense last year, and I think the defense still is pretty strong this year with competent quarterback play. You could say they would have won 2 or 3 more games. Look at the Oklahoma game, for example. That was a crazy game. I was so excited, ready to troll, and then all of a sudden, bam, Sooner Magic on the Plains. But I'm trying to think. Y'all had great answers. I genuinely think Oklahoma puts a lot better product on the football field. That schedule is still really nasty, obviously, and so can they win some of those close games? Because I don't think they're going to be good enough to just blow people out, but they're going to be a lot damn better, and there's going to be some really good games. So I'm not going to say them for obvious reasons. So, but they're one of the first teams, honestly, that comes to mind. South Carolina makes the college football playoff. We're going to go ahead and say it. I think South Carolina is ready. I'm a big believer in the energy of Shane Beamer and, just Beamer ball in general. But he wins with defense and good, last year, good ground game, good quarterback play. I like their chances, man. Let's see what their backfield looks like outside of Lenoris and what kind of production they're putting up. That's a question mark, but y'all said some pretty obvious ones. I'm going to go ahead and make a hot take with that. But I do expect Florida to be a lot damn better. Like you said, Dave, Napier, it seems like he's been a dead man walking. And eventually that dead man, he comes back to life and he starts giving the SEC hell. That's just the feeling that I get. But again, Florida, toughest schedule in the country. So this would be cool, man. Dan Mullen never should have left. He should have stayed in Starkville, Mississippi. He had those Cats rolling. Now I get, you lost to Dak Prescott, and he was a huge cog in that offense. But I don't know. We'll see. Dan Mullen, I loved the offense back in the day. Maybe the game's passed him up a bit because a lot of quarterback run, and I don't know. It makes me sick to think of Dan Mullen because I'm pissed off about Tebow and Florida and Texas not getting in over Oklahoma. So thanks a lot, Dave. Thanks a lot, whoever said that. You possibly should have known it was you. But, gentlemen, Miss Avery, thank you all for being here, guys. If you're still watching, you haven't yet, please throw a like on the video. Just follow the link in my bio on Twitter if that's where you're watching. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, guys, please. We're trying to hit that 600 mark. Again, back to daily content on here. We got Dave hopping on tomorrow doing an all Oklahoma show. He will have a guest as usual, part of Red River North. And for you Texas fans, don't hate me for all these rivals popping on and talking about their teams. I appreciate it. It's always about having fun and talking ball. That's what matters. Anything else, guys, before I let y'all bounce out of here?
Thanks for having me.
I really enjoyed it, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Yes, sir.
Well, guys, thank y'all for being here. Have a good night. We'll see y'all next time.